Hello, I'm Anne Poole. Very soon I'll be on the online prosperity show. I look forward to sharing with you how Girl Guiding actually formed a roadmap for me with my character and with my plans for my life. I've learnt to listen to my intuition, which has played a huge part in my life, and it encouraged me to write my inner feelings, a book for children aged 3 to 8. And I also wrote The Answers Are Within for adults, because we truly have the answers within if we look inside and we actually listen. So I'd love to share that with you during Prosper's program.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, your number one place to uncover exclusive insights, solutions, and inspiration from experts who solve real-world entrepreneurial and life-changing problems. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvenga, and today we have a delightful guest whose journey will resonate with so many of you that are battling doubt, overwhelm, or just simply longing to align work and a deeper purpose. Now, Anne, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Prosper. Thank you for having me on your wonderful show.
Absolutely. Well, the pleasure is all mine. People should see how we were having so much fun behind the scenes. It didn't even feel like we were at work, right? I don't know about you, but this is work for me.
Lucky you. This is great.
Absolutely. Now, for those that are tuning in, joining us, as I've mentioned, is incomparable Anne Poole, who is the founder of Inspire for Life. She also is an Amazon best-selling author, HR expert, life coach, and, as you are going to discover, a very wise nonna. And obviously, there is going to be a playful sense of humor that you will experience firsthand, because, as they say, all work and no play makes Jane a dull girl. I know you're going to laugh, you're going to learn, but we will be unpacking the lessons that actually transformed her career, and I'm hoping they can transform yours too. Now, Anne, I could go on and talk about things that I am not even qualified to talk about. I heard at some point your friends were about to give you up for 30 camels.
Yes, they were. I was in Morocco on a world adventure, and I was wondering what was happening between the men and some other men, and they were bartering. And they said, "Oh, we could have just sold you for 30 camels." I went, "I'm not staying. Don't want to stay there." And luckily they didn't take the camels. They didn't accept it, and I kept going on my world journey. But it was quite an interesting cultural experience to know that some people actually barter in camels.
Oh, absolutely. You see, the reason why this is quite novel for me is that's a culture I grew up in, where you actually have to pay a dowry to the wife or the girl that you're going to marry. So as a young man, you really have to work hard to acquire wealth well before you've even gotten married. So hence I'm here, and it must say a lot.
Absolutely. Oh, I didn't realize that was like a form of a dowry. Thank you for informing me all these years later.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it's something that actually has to be paid upfront before anything happens in exchange for that, which basically, yeah, people have to work twice as hard to even start a family. So it's an interesting culture perspective right there. But how did you end up in Morocco? What was happening?
I actually went to a World Scout Jamboree in Norway. and that was at Lilyhammer. And then quite a group of about 19 of us all travelled the world for 6 months later. And the numbers kept dwindling, but 5 of us we were at in Spain, and we crossed over to Morocco, and it was just amazing. Very different times to now, but it was just a brilliant part of my journey to actually travel the world and experience different cultures and just learn those life skills that you often don't get from a textbook or even just from being in groups. And I thoroughly loved my travel. And
I
I
like
learned
that.
so much about myself and about different cultures and countries. And it was a wonderful foundation for my education, just to travel. And I recommend it to anyone if you haven't travelled. Get over your fear and get out there and travel.
The one thing I like about that, Anne, is every time you go to a new place, first of all, you have to introduce yourself to other people that never knew you from birth. And you're starting communicating with people that may actually speak a completely different language. And you're absolutely right. Some people have never left the state that they were born in, so they don't have any other peripheral knowledge of what actually exists outside of their postcode.
Yeah, so true. I mean, even just ordering a coffee in a different language and understanding the currency, understanding the customs, all these little tiny aspects of everyday life that we take for a normal when we stay in the country that we live in, but we go somewhere else and we're actually in their world. And I remember ordering some chicken once and trying to get the pronunciation absolutely perfect. I can't remember if it was in Norway or in Sweden, and said it, and then the person said, "Nah, chicken's off." And that they must have picked up that I didn't have the correct accent, but I did try to sort of convey that I wanted a piece of chicken.
Oh, absolutely. But obviously, for you to get to that sort of position of being able to travel the world, was that like a childhood dream, or was that something that was, happening based on, the path that you were taking at that time?
It was probably the path I was taking at that time. I really wanted to find myself as an individual. And this opportunity came up to go to a world jamboree. And I just thought, well, if I'm going overseas, there's so much I'd love to see. And there was a lot of research that went into the travel beforehand, where we would go, what trains we would catch, how would we get from A to B, and the logical route that one would take, so you're not backtracking all the time. But it was truly a life-changing experience. And I'm still friends with many of the people that went on that travel and to that World Jamboree. And it was really the start of being a lifelong traveller. And I've been very blessed to be in some amazing countries around the world. And some of the people that I've met, I remember in Japan, I was traveling by train, and this lady came up to me and said, and it's sort of in English and action and visuals. Could you look after my son? He has to get out at a stop, so 3 or 4 times on the route. And they wrote it down, and I said, yes. Okay, so this lady entrusted me with her son, so that he would get off at the right station. And that was just an act of kindness, but also an act of, the person must have picked up my character. I could see that she was a lovely lady. And so I just helped somebody in a foreign country. I did not know Japanese. I did not know the culture, but it was just an amazing experience to be entrusted with this young boy who's probably about 9 or 10. Yeah, so yeah, I've had some amazing experiences around the world, and that just popped into my mind now.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's just the human side of being human, where somebody just feels your energy and your aura and they're like, you will do. And
Yes.
that actually just works perfectly, because I would
Yes.
understand people value their kids more than they value anything else, because it's a very prized
Mm.
possession. And if somebody's just going
Yeah.
to be, passing on to a complete stranger, I mean, there must have been something about, the way you showed up in that particular instance. But
Yeah.
your experience with humanity and humans stems far back. From what I hear, you were also attending Girl Guide camp and things of that nature. Tell us a little bit about that stint in your life as
Yeah.
well, and how that would
Yeah.
have formed, the character you have now.
Yeah. When I was younger, my dad died when I was 6 and a half. And some friends rallied around my mum and said, look, I think it'll be good if your girls go to Brownies and Girl Guides. And so mum enrolled us in Brownies and Girl Guides. And that was really shaped my character and my values at a very young age, probably from around 8 and a half. And I stayed in the Girl Guide and Scouting movement for a very long time. In fact, I was a Girl Guide leader for 13 years. But one particular experience when I was a Girl Guide, um, I was taking a group of 6 girls camping, and I asked one of the girls if she would put some frozen peas, get them out of the esky, the frozen peas, and put them in the stew that's on the open fire. Anyway, eventually, a few, 5 minutes or so later, I went to check that she had done it. And yes, she had done it. She put the packet of peas in the stew. That was the biggest lesson in communication for me. I did not articulate, cut the packet and put the contents, the peas in the stew. So I pulled out this packet of peas. So it was a really valuable lesson very young in my life to know that communication is key to everything, but it's so key to give clear, concise instructions. I can laugh about it now, but at the time I was horrified and mortified. And it's probably more the point that at home, the young girl probably never did any cooking. So to experience in the outdoors would have been such a shock for her. And then she just followed exactly what I said, and full marks to her. But I learned a very important lesson, and it's carried. Well, most times I try to articulate exactly what I mean. Sometimes I slip up because mind sort of is not with it, or it's with it, but it doesn't quite get the right words to convey my message. But I do try very hard.
Absolutely. You know what I love about that story? What I love about that story is it humanizes each and every one of us, because what's happening in your head right now is completely different to what is happening in my head. So you might actually think you have communicated, whereas I'm still looking at your background and wondering, where are all the people that are supposed to be sitting in those chairs? And you can imagine that's what is happening. And you're probably wondering, has he read all those books? Yet we think we're communicating.
Yes.
So it's such a pivotal thing, and I think leaders really need to understand it. But also, to the defense of this girl, Anne, you know what frozen peas are usually used for? They're usually used as a soother, especially when you knock your elbow and things like that. And you don't open the peas. You literally use the packet as is. So she might have just thought maybe that's one of the use cases of the peas.
Great point, Prosper. I love that. I didn't think of that at the time. I was just mortified that, what? There could be bits of plastic in the stew.
And also,
So
I've
true.
actually seen, I don't know, in Victoria, you put a sticker of green peas on your car if you're at a certain level of driving. I've seen memes of people putting frozen peas on the car there. It still sounds the same. It still has the same connotation, and it's a lesson in communication, really. So I can understand how that happened. Now, obviously,
Yes.
brownies and Girl Guides. I don't know in Australia, but in America, they end up selling cookies. And I don't know if you've ever heard the story from Jim Rohn, where he says a Girl Guide came and sold cookies to him, and they were the best salespeople ever because they make you buy. What were some of the lessons that you learned as a as a Girl Guide?
Yeah, and that's very true. We used to have Girl Guide cookies, and we would sell them. And I think we were just honest in our approach.
Mm,
And I think, I don't know if people felt sorry for us or not, but or they wanted to help us, raise the money for whatever charity it was going to, probably Girl Guides anyway. But the cookies themselves were absolutely beautiful. They were like a shortbread, and they had the Girl Guide insignia on it. So, but from actually learning, we always presented ourselves really well, and we
mm,
spoke well, and we knew the price, and we knew what the funds were going towards. And I think that helped, knowing what is your message
mm.
in the selling of them. And people were very receptive. And in fact, we often sold out. And I do remember many years ago that I actually did a promotion. I had a carton of Girl Guide biscuits. I was in my ranger uniform, and they took a photograph of me to promote it. Yeah, because we were obviously doing the communication side of it, and the visuals are very important. And we had a ranger and a guide and a brownie just to show the different age groups within the Girl Guides Association.
Absolutely. I quite like that because not only did it give you a foundation, but it literally just gave you a platform for which you sort of stemmed from. Because pretty much from then on, from what I've gathered, your career went on to span from executive roles. You were in human resources, change management, and workplace safety, all the things that you would have sort of pieced together. Because if you're in a campsite, the main thing you need to focus on is safety. People don't burn themselves with marshmallows and things of
Yeah.
that nature.
Yes.
So tell us how you then went on and just started your career and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Girl Guide and Scouting movement did lay the foundation for leadership skills for me, because they worked in small groups of six, and we learnt about delegation. We learnt about leading and having followers, and the sort of also the values that were very important in guiding and scouting are probably with me and have been with me all my life. But when you transfer that into a leadership role, then you're taking it to the next level in a corporate world. And I love doing that. One of the projects I was working on, we had a quite a large budget, and we also were doing a lot of the HR work, and they realized what we could actually do as a team. And they said, I think we'll get you to do all of the recruitment. And I think my skills from Girl Guiding helped me look at it with, we've got this blank canvas. How will we go about it? And I'd have team meetings, and I'd say, okay, this is what we've got to achieve. How are we going to do it? And we had the buy-in from each person on that team. And for leadership, that is really important, because the leader doesn't have all the ideas. It's actually sharing it with everyone. And it was amazing what we came up with, particularly when we were doing performance management. We had to do the performance appraisal system, and what would that look like, and what can we do as a visual, and then how will we train the managers so that they will know how to score and have that communication, and to have it regularly, like every 3 months, not just once a year, so that we're really building on that communication and building that bond between people, which is so important for teamwork. And we were recognised by the board for our team efforts, and we got a special plaque to say that. We also got dinner out, at a lovely restaurant, so they could see what we were achieving. And as a leader, I was also putting it down into the dollars, doing a spreadsheet and saying, well, this is how much we've saved you. Look at this. So I was doing a lot of things, but a lot of it stems from my training in guiding and scouting, and probably just that the different studies that I did along the way that actually helped me shape it for a corporate world. It was very exciting. It was very challenging, but it was equally so rewarding. Oh, I loved every minute of that project. It was 5 long years, but it was well worth it. But it was the people. The people bring so much, and just communicating and learning about them, the different areas. In a project, it has a start and a finish. And in each part of the project, there's always that design and getting the project across the line. But then there's the different stages that you go through, and each different stage brings in different people with different skill sets. And so we were recruiting maybe for something that we wanted in 6 months' time, but we had to keep the candidate warm because we still wanted them to come on a project. So we had a lot of things playing out in the background for us to how do we engage people, how do we retain them, and what's the skill set that we need. And then we also had another challenge of a visa to work in a different country because it was an international project. So we had all these layers, but it was so rewarding and just great to meet with the caliber of the people that came on the project with their experience. One of the things that was a collective executive meeting, let's do something each week to bring the whole teams together. So we'd have morning tea and we'd have donuts, which is probably not the ideal thing. Some people said, oh, you should have fruit, donuts are not ideal, healthy. But it wasn't really about the donuts. It was about coming together as a group in a social setting on the work floor and just having a chat with your person, with the people that you interact with. And it was just amazing what we achieved from that. And you got to speak to people that you often saw at the water fountain or when you got a coffee, but you could have a 5 or 10 minute chat and you'd hear a bit more about, well, what was their challenge in the program? Or what was it that's lacking that we could do more of? And so it was a really good sharing of communication. And I think the project director at the time, he was probably someone who mentored me because I was only a new manager at that time and I was still learning, but he could see my potential, and it was just fabulous to have someone of that caliber guide you. And I'd meet with him each week and I'd always prepare, this is where we're at, this is where we want to go, this is what's lacking, this is what goals we've met. And it made such a difference when you can have a mentor who supports you and you can tell them what some of your issues are, yet they can give you, well, this could be an option or that could be an option. And then you make a selection. And sometimes I wouldn't make the selection. I'd take it back to my team and say, well, what do you think? What will be the best way for us as a team to progress this? And what are going to be the benefits to the project? Because ultimately, we have to deliver the people, but we have to deliver the budget as well. And we also want to have a bit of fun, because that was one thing that I really wanted to have fun on this project. We worked really long hours, really hard, but yet we all gained so much. And our fun was that donuts each week. It was on a Friday, which was great. The communication was key to everything, and it was just one of the wonderful platforms where I could put into practice a lot of the skills I had learned through guiding and scouting, plus also my study for my master's in human resource management. I was able to bring that into play as well. Because when I did my study, I was a mature age student, and I did have a lot of fear about that because, the fear of failure was huge, absolutely huge. And I thought, what happens when I go to the university, and what happens if I fail? And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to face everybody. Plus, I've still got to pay for it all. Anyway, I actually excelled. I made sure that I really studied hard, and it helped me get all the jobs that I've had since then by having that piece of paper. But fundamentally, even getting that piece of paper, doing the challenges, was all in group work for your masters, and it was all based on anything that was new in the last 2 years. So it was a lot of research. We went in my master's doing the study. It was just like being back in guiding and scouting. We were in small groups, and we still had to work things out together and bring it, for presentation. And we were assessed as a group. We did have some international people that their language wasn't ideal, but that was great because we all helped them along, and they were from all over the world. It was amazing what we learnt, having their input, and equally what we could teach them about communication and the English language, and some of the little nuances in the English language, which we probably all know about.
Oh, absolutely. And there's something about especially the English language and the Australian twang with all these other different words and the way you shorten some words and things of that nature. So when it's, when you're exposing them to somebody who has actually learned English just so they can get by, it sort of creates a pattern break for them. And and it's a good thing you had that patience to work with people like that. And congratulations on all your successes. Now, while you were talking, I'm not quite sure, isn't one of the mottos of scouts or girl guides is be prepared, like always be prepared?
Absolutely correct. Yes.
So
be prepared.
So when you started talking about you'd get somebody who you still need 6 months in advance, I was just like, this is the scouts or girl guide sort of way of being, that you would do whatever you can so you're prepared for the future out there. So I don't know. And while you were talking, and thank you so much for giving us this, because it really shapes the person that you've become. I kind of feel like being a girl guide was somewhat of a rite of passage for you, because so many people in life just go from kindergarten, they get born, kindergarten, high school, junior school, high school, then maybe do some travel in between or not, or work at McDonald's, get a job, buy a house, get married, and then get kids, get a dog, retire, and then that's it, without somewhat of a pattern break and some frame of reference for them to actually learn and grow from. I don't know how you feel about that sort of insight with regards to the rite of passage.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it as a rite of passage, but it does make a lot of sense. When I did join, when I went from brownies to guides, I wanted to be a Queen's Guide. And so that was a goal of mine, to be a Queen's Guide. To be a Queen's Guide is undertaking, 30 or 40 different challenge badges. And then giving a lot of service, something like 50 hours of service, which I did at different hospitals in Brisbane, in Australia. And I also had to challenge myself to learn all these things. I had to make jam, and I had to make sewing things, and I had to build campfires, and lots and lots, a really broad objective in different 8 sections of the whole program. And so how they set up their program, I suppose, is very much a roadmap for life. And it touched on, the spiritual, the emotional, the physical, the mental, and just a lot of the outdoors and giving service. So I suppose when I look at it, it was a rite of passage. And to actually earn the Queen's Guide was going through a lot of hoops. And I had the most remarkable guide leader who supported me so much. And without her, I probably would not have been able to achieve my Queen's Guide. These days, now that there's King Charles, it is actually a King's Guide. So whoever the monarch is, their gender makes it that sort of guide. But it was quite a lot of work, but it certainly made a difference in my life to virtually achieve all of that. And you have to do that by 16 years of age. So I suppose straight away I knew about goal setting, I knew about planning, and I knew about focusing and time management and all of those things. So yeah, it it was a rite of passage. It was a goal that I wanted, and it's still with me today. I still use a lot of those skills in everything that I do.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for indulging me on that one. Um, so the reason why this is very important is because from all of that, you put it all together and you are now coaching other people as well, to be, do, and have a happier existence. And some people,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed the industry, usually they go to a seminar on the weekend, walk through a couple of calls, and then on their way back, they buy a computer, and on Monday they're already calling themselves a coach. But you've had all this life experience and work experience that now sort of puts you in this position to be leading others. And for those that are following, they will actually acknowledge and appreciate the way you've done. So before Inspire for Life, you were obviously leading this multi-billion dollar resource companies and projects and things like that. But where was that, or what was that emotional pivot or that aha moment that then lit the spark for your coaching journey?
Mm, yes, there was a pivot, and it was at the end of the project. And projects have a start and a finish, and I made the choice then to actually study coaching. I loved my HR work, but I wanted more. I wanted another challenge. I also wanted a rest, but to study for 12 months and do my life coaching course was amazing. And it allowed me just to review my life, because when you do a life coaching course, it's about looking at your own emotions, because you often cannot help someone else until you've helped yourself, until you have experienced it yourself. So it was quite a learning. And I found out then, well, I'd probably known for some time that I'm quite intuitive. And certainly when I was doing all my practice sessions and being assessed, I was quite intuitive what I was picking up with the people that I was coaching, because there was often someone I was coaching and someone who was observing, plus then there was an assessor listening. So we were stringently tested to make sure that we were providing value for our coachees. And my life experiences certainly came into play. I was able to have empathy, which is a really good coaching skill, and to have that emotional intelligence as well, I believe. I have that, and I can pick it up and I can help others. What it's helped me now in my coaching is not just to help people with their career, but of course I love to do that, position them for success, but it's also, I look at the energy management for them, not the time management. That's another thing altogether. But their energy, how are they looking after themselves? What's their self-care? Because you are the only one who can give yourself self-care. And at some stage, you realize, wow, I need to just look after me. And for many years, I was always looking after other people and helping other people. Often I wouldn't say, no, I can't fit it in. I just say, oh, yes, I'll do it, to the detriment of my own health. So I learnt the hard way. And I thought, no, I need to look after my own health and my own self-care and my own, what I call self-leadership. And once you can put that into practice yourself, my gosh, everyone that you interact with will benefit, because you're coming from such a great place, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically. You're well, you're in great shape, and you're able to help others because you've helped yourself. And so I make sure now in my coaching programs that part of the coaching, each session, we devote to what I call energy management. And it's something that I'm getting great feedback with. But it's because of my own experiences and my own trainings that I've added that to my program.
Oh, absolutely. So we should definitely listen when the air hostesses are giving that in-flight instruction, because they say you put your mask on first. And that's what you're saying, that if you look after numero uno, the rest will take care of itself.
It definitely does, Prosper. And I love the analogy with the air hostess and or air attendants, and you put on your own oxygen first. Yeah. You look after yourself. Some people when I first said this many years ago, oh, that's being selfish. No, it's not being selfish. It's self-preservation. It's if you don't look after yourself, then are you expecting others to look after you? It
Absolutely.
does take time. It does take effort. It's just little simple things to look after yourself, to eat well, to have enough water, to have sunshine, to have exercise. They are simple things. They cost you nothing but your time. And if you look after yourself, then you're in much better shape to help others. That's definitely my philosophy.
Absolutely. But you see, the thing is, I mean, things like this would only happen to people like yourself that have been in the bush, traveled around the world, have experienced, what it is like to work in multi-million dollar projects. How about me, who's just, wandering, just trying to make it through the day? You know what I mean? But from what I hear, this is not just an thing. This is available to everyone, is it?
This is available to everybody. It doesn't matter your background. It's that personal feeling within you. You have got to want it for yourself. And sometimes it hits us in the face all of a sudden. Something doesn't go well in our life, and it causes us to stop and take a pause and take a breath and pivot and think, well, what can I do? Because each of us have a lot of talent. Um, every one of us has a talent. Sometimes we don't know for sure, but whatever brings you joy is going to be something that is a talent, innate or something you've learned. But whatever brings you joy is what gets you out of bed in the morning. And if you've got that passion, then you've got purpose in your life. But if you haven't got all of those things, those emotional, spiritual, physical, mental well-being, then something's off kilter. And so to look after yourself, it doesn't matter what you do in life. And these are simple things like taking a walk in nature for 10 or 15 minutes. Making sure that you do drink enough water to keep hydrated. Taking time out to relax. Taking time out to say, I've done a really good job. Celebrate your successes. These are little things that you can do to actually look after yourself by putting yourself first. So each one of us can do it. It's just maybe you get up a little bit earlier, maybe you just don't watch TV as much, or whatever it is, you just carve out that little bit of time. And I know I've proven it, and so have my clients, that it's well worth the effort if you can do that. Because today's world is so busy and there's so much happening. But this is the one thing that you can do for yourself to make you feel good and be able to cope with whatever challenge life throws at you or for me.
But I don't know. When I arrived in Australia, all I heard was people just say, "Yeah, she'll be all right, mate. Just drink a bag of cement and everything will be fine." And
Yeah.
I tried it once. I almost died. So I don't know.
What did they say for you to have a bag of?
A bag of cement, like the
Oh,
building material that hardens. So they just say,
okay. Right. Okay, I haven't heard that saying. But but you're right though. A lot of people say, "Oh, she'll be right. She'll be right." That used to be the Australian way. I think because we're so multicultural now, I don't hear that as much. I do from the people in the country. I should be right, mate.
"She'll be right."
And it is an Australian saying. And things will be right if we do look after ourselves. That's for sure.
Absolutely. You see, I've got young kids, and every time I'm walking past when they're watching TV, you hear the song, you put your whole self in, you put your whole self out, you do the roly poly, and that's what it's all about. And yeah, you see, if you're not present and you're not putting your whole self in anything, first of all, you are just jeopardizing the lives of those that are around you. And speaking of kids, you've gone on and published a children's book, My Inner Feelings for
Yeah.
Kids 3 to 8, which basically helps them trust their intuition. Was there any
Yes.
inner conversations that were happening inside of you that made you feel, hey, I think kids really need this book?
Yes, yeah. I actually felt a calling to write this book for children to trust their intuition, because a lot of parents don't even understand our sixth sense, as it's often called, or that gut feeling is your intuition. And it's a skill that once you have it and you're aware of it, it can actually save you. It can help you. It's there to guide you, but it's only there to guide you, or it might give you some warnings about someone else that you're close with or that you're interacting with. So I wrote this story about my two granddaughters, Ava and Lucy, and I'm actually the nonna in the story. And the beautiful Maria from Denmark did all my watercolor drawings. And so the lady on the front's got the curly hair like I have. But it's a lot of stories set where I live, and it's helping children to understand through play and through the little inner prompts that they might hear what they're actually doing. And for parents, it's about, do you move towards or do you move away from? Or do you get those cold shivers on your arms that, and it's not because it is cold, it's because, you've just been touched by something. And letting children understand what that is and helping them to comprehend it and know that this is their friend. This intuition is about them, it's to help them in their journey.
Absolutely, because I think so much of that is, you know, bottled in, and people don't quite know how to express themselves, and it just then explodes in some sort of a tantrum in a break room at work, and you don't even realize that, hey, you could have figured that out ages ago. All right. And this is not your first rodeo, especially when it comes to writing. You once wrote Morning Pages inspired by the artist's way, and that
Yes.
also really unlocked some sort of creativity in the work that you're doing. And now you're coaching others to own their inner story. First of all, what does that actually mean, and how did that sort of creative seed continue throughout, the work that you've been doing so far?
Yeah, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron is a wonderful book to unlock creativity. And I write what they call morning pages, which is 3 pages each morning. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's your emotions, or it doesn't matter what happened the day before, or whatever you're feeling. You just put it onto paper. Or you might have some great creative ideas, and so you write it down. It doesn't matter. But writing those 3 pages has made a big difference in my life, because it's taken the clutter out of my head and put it onto the paper. It also means that my day is often more productive because of that, so that I can set a goal for the day and achieve it, because I've written the morning paper, what she calls morning paper. Some people will call it journaling. It's one and the same. It's just different terminology. It's a process that makes a big difference, and it has done to me in my writing and in my creativity. It unlocks so much. It's carving out the time. If you really want something, then you will find the time to do it. And so I get up a little bit earlier so that I can write it with my coffee in the morning. I'm sorry, what else? What other question did you
Oh,
ask for?
absolutely. I like that morning prompt. I don't know if you've ever watched The Lion King, and then every morning the king Mufasa is given a morning report by Zazu, and they call it the morning report. And I feel like we should actually wake up in the morning and instead of reaching for our phones, get the morning report, which is a download on our own,
Yes,
which will actually get us through the day and the things of that nature. So thank you so much for that
yeah,
prompt. But and if someone is just maybe listening and they're feeling stuck in between jobs and they're unsure of their purpose, what is the one thing that you'd want them to know right now? Maybe why should they consider working with you, or maybe reading the answers are within?
yeah. Okay. I love to position people for success. And my clients have said to me when I work with them that the courses that I have online, such as the robust resumes and the interview insights, it's really made a difference when they apply for a job. For a start, they've actually been shortlisted. And the interview skills actually help them when they go to do the actual interview. And when they go to negotiate a salary, that's also in the course for the interviews. And so working with me, you can work just with coaching, just one-on-one, or you can do the courses. And online, I've got the resume and the interview insights bundle for $3.99. And I'm going to let Prosper's viewers actually have a 45-minute session with me if they wish to purchase it. That's one way that you can work with me, and that when you're at that career decision, that's something that you can look at by going through a lot of things. If you want to work with me just on coaching, and it is about you're at that crossroads, definitely there's certain things, certain tools that I will offer to you that we can work through to help you make the right decision on what's best for you at the moment. And I'm just been helping a client at the moment, and she's doing really well. She's also taken on some of my energy management work, and it's really preparing her for a new role and a new position. So I love to see the success from others from working with me.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll definitely put in the links to your offer in the show notes below so that people can actually get started on their journey. Because I think with what you're bringing to the table, the the actual empathy, that's what I think a lot of people need. And also the pragmatism that you bring from HR, because some people might just think coaching is aspirational and woo woo, but there's also the okay, let's get to the brass tacks and actually get down to work.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, very
absolutely.
much so. Yeah.
Great stuff. Now, and this has been amazing getting to know your journey and how it all started and everything else in between. But now that you've brought us into your world, what are you working on right now that we can all be excited about and jump on board? Knowing what we know now about your journey so far.
Yeah. Because I've only just released my inner feelings, I'm really working on promoting the book. I've been to the local school and spoke to the children. It's in some of the daycares in another centre, and the feedback is amazing. So I'll be promoting my inner feelings because I really want to help children and parents, because in the back of the book there's an actual note to parents so that they fully understand about intuition. And it's also got some notes from Psychology Today. So I've done my research just to back up what I'm saying. But I feel that intuition is a really big thing. So that will be what I'm working on at the moment, as well as my coaching clients. I'm just taking time to sort of yeah, look at both my books and see how it can help people. So just the promotion of them takes a little bit of time. And I think I'll probably do either, what shall we say, YouTube or some more talking. I actually, with the answers within, each month I have a guest speaker, and we take a deep dive into one of the chapters in the book, and I promote their business and whatever they're doing. And that's been just amazing. At the moment, it's for heart-centered women, and it's been just wonderful and rewarding to hear about other people's journeys and letting them share with an audience and getting their questions. So that's taking up a little bit of time, but who knows what the next chapter will look like, but this is what it is at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't thank you enough for the time and the level of care that you have put in your journey, because now we've just had a good story to tell on the Online Prosperity Show.
Thank you so much, Prosper. It's been a pleasure working and listening to you as well.
Absolutely. And that, folks, brings us to the end of a truly insightful conversation with Anne Pearl. Now, I think she's somebody who's taken the curveballs of life and just turned them into clarity, creativity, and compassion. And if you've ever felt stuck or uncertain, I hope you're actually seeing now that, hey, the answers were always within, and how with the right lens and tools you can actually align, aspire, and achieve just like what Anne and her clients are. So if this episode really lit something inside of you, I want to encourage you to maybe share it with somebody who could use a dose of hope or perspective. And if somebody has shared this with you, be sure to give them a hug and subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show so you never miss out on a story that could also change your life. And speaking of which, in the next episode, we're going to be exploring ideas that will help you live a happier and more purpose-driven life. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this information. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.